Welcome to Show, Don't Tell, a podcast by TelScreen's team of Wes Harris and Kent Harris, sharing their stories of being in the eye care industry in their unique, punny style with facilitator Christy. All right, welcome everybody to the latest episode of
Show, Don't Tell
by the brothers Harris here at TelScreen. So that'd be Kent Harris and Wes Harris. And they've been in rare form. But today we want to talk about
something more well done.
See? and if you've been listening to our podcast at all over the months that we've been doing it, you will notice that we also incorporate a little fun while we're having this conversation about technology and more technology and engineering and all of the things that go behind making the systems work that you guys produce. So today's episode is going to be about who are our people.
That's right. Congratulations, Christy. You passed the tongue twister test.
That's because I said it slow enough. Who are our people?
And part of what we've discovered over the years is we're not for everybody. In fact, I'm fortunate that my wife still likes me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what my wife says. We're not for everybody.
We're not for everybody.
But there are segments of the eye doctor world that we identify as our people. Who are our people? And they're the ones who just want it to work. I want it to work quickly, efficiently. I don't want to futz with it. I don't want a weekend project. I don't want it to do a DIY thing where somebody sends me a box and then I ignore it for 2 weeks and then start trying to put together and find out I need 3 more things and then go down that path and it becomes 6 months later, it's not quite finished, but it's almost there and it kind of sort of works. So that's not our people. Our people are, bring it in, set it up, teach me how to use it, okay, go.
Right. Because you guys pretty much wheel it in this fancy case.
We do now.
Yes. I've seen the case. It's kind of fancy.
Yeah. You didn't see the days of all the cardboard boxes.
No, grown since then. So when you talk about that ease of use, what else makes that person your person?
The person who cares more about performance in their business to do their work and let them spend more time with the patient and less time worrying about their tools.
Or futzing with technology in front of the patient, or turning their back on the patient and trying to make the computer happy while the patient looks at the back of their head.
I would think, even just as a marketing person, I know when I come to you guys as your marketing person, if I have to muck around with, let's say Facebook insights, if I don't already have the information pulled so it makes it an easy, quick conversation, if I go mucking around in the systems, it makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm guessing that's potentially the same feeling.
Fortunately, we don't know what you're doing either, so you're a little safe. You got a little
I'm
coverage.
Driving traffic to your website. That's what I do.
But we have no idea how any of that works.
You just know it is working.
But yeah, the parallel for an eye doctor, if you're messing around with technology, if you have to draw with your mouse and highlight regions and press buttons and scroll and click, there may be some issue on the patient confidence side of do they understand that you do know what you're doing, even though you're spending a lot of time doing technical clicky things instead of doctor things.
Right.
And our whole focus since Larry Alexander told us what our focus was in 1994, our whole focus is ease of use, because if it's too hard to use, you can't afford to have it.
If it's not faster for doctors aren't going to use it.
And if it's not better for patients, doctors shouldn't be using it. So that kind of really encompasses the purpose for us, and our people are the people who recognize that those are important things in the practice, that their practice is better off when they use technology that's faster for them to use and better for their patients to understand.
Absolutely. So what else makes them like the perfect one to work with?
The ones who will recognize that value and understand that you can't get that kind of value for nothing. It takes an investment to get that in your practice. Software engineers don't work for free. You don't get easy-to-use software without someone who's an expert in their field designing it.
And designing it especially for your stated purpose, not designing a generic package that takes a camera and shows a picture on a monitor, and then from there, well, you can click here to take a picture, and then you can click there to go find the picture you took, and then you can click here to save it somewhere else.
And if you didn't like that picture, you can click here and start messing with the brightness, and here you can do the contrast, and wait, your monitor might not be right either, so you can adjust that, you can adjust this.
I'm lost.
Shouldn't have
already.
to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, people who want to futz around with cameras and become a photographer and mess around with their monitor and take a generic software and try to apply it to eye care without it being designed for eye care. That's a challenge, and that becomes a hobby. It takes you away from being an eye doctor and turns you into a hobby slit lamp photographer person who's also a hobby software developer or system integrator trying to make these disparate pieces work together.
And
those aren't our people.
Not our people.
Yeah.
Who else is our people? Great storytellers? Do they need to love puns?
So
We don't make that a requirement of being our people, because I'm told that there aren't that many people that meet that requirement.
But when you mention great storytellers, a lot of CE speakers are our people because they're busy with their own optometric practice, and they're busy taking the things they've learned in practice and translating it to other doctors through continuing education. So they have even less time than other doctors in terms of the percentage of their day to spend futzing with technology. So they have become our people because we make it easy to flag an image with meibomian gland dysfunction or evaporative dry eye, whatever. Add it to a library of those things, and the next time you're talking about that topic, you have a whole bunch of things already flagged for you to review and decide which ones should be dropped into your presentation. So those are our people too, the storytellers.
Yeah.
We try to make it easy for them to extract the information from their daily practice and drop it into a story that they're now telling to a CE audience.
And leaders in optometric education, anybody who needs to teach someone what they're doing, our technology is especially relevant for that case. And we make it easy for them to do that. So if you just need some practice stations for students, we have options now in university budget level to where, universities don't typically have, may not have as big of a budget, and we have solutions for that.
And we actually have solutions now that are cheaper than teaching tubes. So instead of just buying the beam splitter and the teaching tube because it's all you can afford, well, we have systems that do exactly the same thing, except that everybody can see it at the same time, and you can point on screen. You may not be recording it and saving it, but you can point to it, and except for the person who's still in the slit lamp, everyone else can see what you're pointing at and figure out what you're talking about. So it's like the community teaching tube, and it costs less.
And it saves on your chiropractor budget for when your neck's all bent out trying to squint over a teaching tube for so many hours a day.
I'm going to just throw my little 2 cents in here saying that ideally, if you're listening to this and any of this describes you, you might want to just give us a call, because we'll have that conversation and see how we can best solve whatever problem you may be having in your practice with that in that area.
And then there's another group of people we haven't talked about yet.
Ooh, do tell.
Yes. So we recently adopted Dr. Celine McGee is now an honorary TelScreen cousin.
Oh.
She's not a customer yet, but we did lend her a camera for an injections workshop. And she was testing it at our Vision Expo West booth, and she said, "Oh yeah, I can see how deep the needle goes," while she's poking around on my forehead, and I get little shivers. I'm like, "No, don't talk about needles on my forehead." But anyway.
Wait, she did a needle in your forehead?
No. There were no needles involved, but she was talking about needles, and that was enough.
Like, why didn't somebody get a picture of this?
There were needles in the workshop, but not in my forehead. Thank you.
Gotcha. Which system does she?
Doesn't have one yet, but
Okay.
we shipped her a camera with a big long lens on it so that she could zoom into
Essentially
the forehead.
a portable broadcast unit. that she could have someone hold and observe while she stands there in front of you and inserts a needle into your forehead and describes, how to do that.
Well, alrighty then.
Yeah. The neurotoxin workshop.
Neurotoxin workshop. Huh. Fascinating. I always learn so much.
So anyway, she's our people too. Even though there was no slit lamp involved, there was no permanently mounted slit lamp camera. It was just basically a one-off for a workshop. But we enjoy helping people teach others. That's part of our company DNA. If you've ever heard any of the Pat stories, that's where that comes from. If we can help, we will.
We need more Pat stories.
He hasn't run out yet.
All right, what else?
Do you have anything else?
Well, speaking of my personal people, my youngest daughter, Grace, shout out to Grace, is now working for an optometry practice in Lexington, Kentucky.
Woohoo!
Where she's learning all about the trials and tribulations of working the front desk and optical and a little bit of technician work. So, and she was so excited. She said, this is the best job ever.
Aw.
Because it's not the Cheesecake Factory.
Well, when you get your first grown-up job, although at this stage I was like, we went somewhere and I'm like, I'm old enough and I'm capable enough. I could step in and help that bartender or that waitress tonight, maybe earn a few extra bucks to pay for my own dinner and just be helpful. And I went, oh, you are so too old for this.
And in the background, you saw the commercial guy come in for, helping your parents shop for.
Yes. Yes.
Young homeowners becoming their parents.
But that first job that you ever get is typically in food service or retail. Just had that conversation with somebody recently. And so then whenever you get your first grown-up job where you dress up, you have to act different in customer service, be the adult in the room sort of thing. It's a whole different feel, like a whole different level of responsibility. It does feel different.
And Grace is enjoying it tremendously.
Good for her. I'm so excited for that.
I'm not going to mention my sons. I'm going to leave that out.
Okay. That must be for a different podcast. Well, awesome. I always enjoy listening to you guys talk about the people you serve and who are your people, because I know how much you enjoy not only hanging out whenever you get to go to the conferences and shows and things like that, but whenever they call, you guys give them, you answer the phone. There is no... you answer the phone.
We don't have robots for that yet.
We don't. And I don't know that you guys ever would do the robot thing.
We specifically do not like robots, so we're a little biased. Sorry, robots out there. No, nothing personal. It's just business.
Although I do want me a droid really bad. But it's good to know, you guys know your people. You know how they think. You know what their needs are, and not just the classic sales verbiage of their pain points. You should know the pain points of your customers. However, these people like friends and family. So that's one thing that also sets TelScreen apart from the other companies, is that you guys treat them like real human beings, first of all, and not a transaction.
We tried very hard, and I tried not to go overboard on the puns on the phone calls, but every now and then one just has to come.
It just has to come out.
And that just means we treat you like family.
That's right.
Because I hear them all the time.
Wes is like, let's share the love, shall we?
Spread the load.
Okay, well, fellas, this will be a short episode today since we wanted to really hone in and focus on who are our people.
Ooh, twice in a row.
Twice.
Fantastic.
I don't know how fast I can actually say it without screwing it up, so let's not.
On the next episode.
So, yes, we'll have another episode hopefully before the end of the year, and we'll talk about whatever's going on and then how to set your own practice up for success for 24. Might be a good topic with your equipment needs. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out to one of the fellas here at TelScreen. That'd be Kent Harris or Wes Harris. And this has been an episode of
Show Don't Tell.
And you can find us at
www.telscreen.com.
Thanks, everybody.